So this one is going to be a little bit of a different type of video. Um, I'm not quite sure where to start, but it's been about 6 months since I had a falling out with my parents and they stopped speaking to me. And it all came to a head when I confronted them about how I felt about my childhood and the way that I was treated throughout my life. And rather than taking accountability and trying to better understand the reasons for my feelings, they've chosen to take the path of shutting down, ignoring my pleas, and just sort of assuming that this is all going to blow over, that I just need some time to calm down or something. But during this period of no contact, the more that I think about it, the more that I talk about it, I can't help but get more and more upset at the fact that something so important to me can be dismissed so easily by the very people whose biological purpose is to be there for me and to make me feel safe. The truth is, when I think about my childhood now, it's clear to me that I never really did feel safe, and I never felt accepted for who I really was as a person and who I am as a person. My feelings were just never considered or even asked about because we didn't talk about our feelings in my family. It was only ever about what I could accomplish or what they could tell their friends about me. Was I getting good grades? Was I good at math? What university I was going to? I made a video previously about my experience in school that I'll leave in the description, but in short, I was a gifted kid with undiagnosed ADHD. And school was too easy for me. It just didn't interest me at all. And whenever I would get bad grades, my mom would just pluck me out of my current school and just drop me into a new one because obviously it was the school's fault, right? How could my smart boy be getting bad grades? And so I actually ended up attending 4 different elementary schools between the ages of 5 and 12. And every single time, it didn't matter how much I would cry and scream and protest about how I didn't want to go to a new school because I had just started making friends and it's just started feeling like a kid again in that school. It just didn't matter. I was just ignored. And the next year I would find myself in a new school in a brand new environment, just completely lost. And the craziest thing is that I never realized how not normal it was for a kid to go through that and how much of an impact that it has had on me as a person and my personality and how it continues to impact me today as an adult. I became extremely socially anxious and avoidant, just completely paralyzed by my own introversion. I remember how helpless I would feel, like a prisoner locked into my own body, not able to speak because I was so uncomfortable from being constantly put in a new environment and surrounded by new people. And the craziest part is that she never saw anything wrong with what she did. And in fact, I think to this day, she would say that this was good for me. And this even continued through high school where just crazy things were done and said to me, and I would just be left thinking that they were completely normal and that I was the problem. In high school, I was threatened with the prospect of being put into a full-time military school if I didn't get my act together. That people would just come and take me. And even in university, I made it onto the dean's list with good grades, and when they sent a letter to my home, my mom would tell this story all the time about how she got that letter and assumed I was expelled or something. That was always the gut instinct when it came to me, right? Just always assuming the absolute worst in me because I was just a bad kid, right? And my dad, man, that was just another situation entirely. I mean, he worked a lot, but when he was at home, he was just always yelling at me for something. And if he wasn't yelling at me, he was yelling at my mom, and they were just always arguing about something. It was just a guaranteed daily occurrence that he would find something to be pissed off about. It didn't matter what it was, didn't matter what I was doing. I remember the only time I would feel safe as a kid was the few hours in between when I got home from school and when he came back home from work. I remember the pit in my stomach and the feeling of complete dread that would just wash over me whenever I would hear the garage door open and the car pulling in. And I mean, I'm sure there were times when we had fun, but now as an adult, when I look back, I can only remember the negative emotions associated with that relationship. I can only remember the feeling of extreme anxiety just completely overwhelming me just at the sound of his footsteps coming up the stairs and approaching my bedroom. The crazy thing about this is that at the time, I didn't think there was anything wrong. I thought this was normal. I thought that I had it good, actually, because I was constantly being told that I had it good. You know, like, you don't know how good you have it. You don't know how bad our parents were to us. And yes, to be fair, I think that they did have much more difficult childhoods than I did, for sure. Their own parents treated them much worse than they were to me, but I think the problem was that they never really acknowledged it, and they never worked on themselves, and they never recognized it as a problem. And so they just continued the cycle of intergenerational trauma onto me. And it's taken me a really long time to realize that two things can be true for me. Yes, I was provided for materially and educationally, and there was always food on the table, and I did have it pretty good. But I was also emotionally abused and neglected. And all I've ever really wanted was for that second part to be acknowledged in some way, for it to be validated, because it matters, and because I matter, and because it's not enough to be adequate externally and materially. I do understand why they are the way that they are, but that doesn't mean that I have to excuse them for it. And I won't accept the same treatment that I did in the past, because I now realize how important my own feelings are, and I have the ability to stand up for myself. And I will not accept anything less than I deserve, which is to be seen as a person and to be recognized for who I am and not for what I can accomplish materially. I think it's really sad to think about now, the fact that I don't think they will ever be able to know who I am as a person, because they never saw me as a person. I was just some disobedient, rebellious kid who needed to be punished and needed to be set straight all the time. And it's just hitting so different for me now that I have a daughter and am a parent myself, because how could you do that? Like, how could you do that to me? That's just not fair. My only goal is to make her feel safe and understood, and to let her live her own life and make her own decisions. And I will try my hardest to always recognize how she feels, and to not project my own issues onto her, and to not let my own insecurities affect the way that I treat her. I want nothing more than for her to feel safe to come to me with absolutely anything, and for her to only have positive memories of me when she's an adult. You know, obviously I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm going to be making a lot of mistakes, but I think above all else, I will own up to those mistakes as I make them. There's really three reasons why I started making videos, and the first was for myself, because I feel like I have a lot of things on my mind and things that I want to get off my chest. And these videos are almost like journaling to me, and it really does help. And I'm going through a particularly tough period in my life, but I do recognize that it's not always going to be this way. And having sort of a record of these experiences and feelings as something I can look back on in the future to remember how I felt during this time, I think is a valuable thing. And the second is for you watching this, because maybe someone out there has had similar experiences to me, and maybe you don't know what to do with those feelings or how to get through this particular time in your life. Or maybe you just want to be heard and seen, and to know that you're not alone in this experience. And finally, the last reason, and the most important one, is I make these videos for my daughter and potentially my future children, if I have any, to document and show her what my life was like at the age I'm at now. Because one day maybe she'll be facing the same challenges that I am. I mean, hopefully not this one, because it has to do with my parents not talking to me. But and whatever challenges it is that she's facing, I just want her to know that I went through them too, and they are not the end of the world, and that you can come out the other side of this stronger and better. And to realize that, your dad is not perfect, and I have a lot of my own issues, and I will be making a lot of mistakes. But I am committed to working through them so that I can become the best version of myself, so that I can be that for you. And hopefully, if I've done a good job, then I won't pass on any of my issues to you as my parents did to me. I'm committed to breaking the cycle, and I just want you to know that it's entirely because of you. I spent a lot of time in my adulthood just sort of going through life and letting my issues and problems of my past sort of dictate how I lived my life. And the only reason that I committed to becoming a better version of myself was because I knew you were coming. And so now, if you're watching this, I'm not sure how old you'll be, or I'm not sure how old I'll be even. But my commitment to you is that I will always be considerate of your feelings. And I will always listen to what you think is best, not just what I think is best. And I will always let you make your own mistakes and choose your own path, because I don't care what you do. If you're getting bad grades because you're choosing to focus on something else, that's great. I don't care. I will support you in everything that you do, and that's not just something that I'm saying. I really do mean it. And I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm always going to try. And when I've made a mistake, I think you can always come to me and tell me, hey, Dad, you hurt my feelings and that wasn't very nice. And I will never let my own feelings get in the way of our relationship and the way that I treat you, because you deserve only the best of me, and I promise to give that to you for as long as I'm alive. I love you, and thank you for helping me become a better person every single day. And remember to brush your teeth and eat your vegetables and do whatever it is Mom tells you to do these days.